My name is Alison Banks, and I have been making quilts since 1980. And before that, I got a degree in textiles from Arizona State University and was in fashion merchandising, and I was an assistant buyer in San Francisco. And then I moved to back to New Hampshire, and my girlfriend and I started a quilt shop. And we sold our own products, and we had about 25 consignment people in 1980. So that was my start of being in the quilt world. And then for about 25 years, I worked in a family business as marketing specialist and community outreach person. Well, I love color and I do lots of reading and I have an extensive library taking photographs. And some of my quilts are very colorful, like the one I've got in the sh upcoming show. It's called Prickly Pear. And that one is my interpretation of beautiful old 100-year-old prickly pears we had on our property when we lived in Tucson. And the trunk of it was as big as a tree. And when it flowered, it was yellow and pink and orange. So that's where that comes from. I'm also very interested in history. So some of my pieces are talking about especially women's history. So I get my inspiration from doing a lot of reading. You can't see the quilt behind us very well, but it's a whole piece about the WASPs, so Women's Air Force Service pilots in World War II, and how they flew all the planes, the B-29s, the B-17s, and everything else. And so that's a big piece that I did about them, which actually was traveling with SAQA for a couple years. So that's kind of how, I mean, there's inspiration everywhere you look. I'm kind of a free-form person, so in the event of, say, the historical pieces, they're much more planned in terms of I use copyright-free imagery and print on fabric. So that's much more planned. But in terms of the piece that I have in the show, and most of the time, I'm very free-form. I don't use patterns. I use a big design wall and pin things up and audition, if you will, the fabrics and colors to get my message across. So it's very free-spirited, which is my personality as well. It's really hard to say because it depends on the piece, but it always takes longer than you think. It usually takes a few months to make a piece, honestly, to get it right and then do the backing and the quilting and the binding and everything. So, yeah, it takes a while. It's not a fast process by any means, but the more I do it and the older I get, the more I love just the whole process of it. Well, it's a wonderful group of people, and I was absolutely thrilled to get in with this group. And last time I missed the deadline because I was getting a second bachelor's degree. And it's just a really the people that are in the group are all very talented and do fabulous work. So for me to be part of it has been a real thrill, and I'm just overjoyed that my piece is going to be included. So it was a huge deal for me. I hope that they'll learn to see things in a different way because I think being an artist, you really have to learn to see everything in your environment. are the petals of a prickly pear purple? No, but the flowers are. And so I hope people will, in this particular piece, be have their eyes open to really looking at things and analyzing things and feel joy when they look at my piece. I loved making that piece. It means everything because that's how I kind of view the world. And, for a long time, I could not do much work of my own because I was really had a pretty serious job for a long time. And it just fills my soul if I'm not making something or my hands aren't busy. I just feel like I'm wasting my time. So I'm constantly making something. If it's not a quilt, I'm knitting hats for charity or kids' hats or shawls for people. I just always have to be doing something and making something. I think it's a real huge part of the core of who I am as a person. And now that I have more time to do it, I'm just really, really overjoyed to be able to do that. I would say start small, and not try to make a giant piece. My pieces are not really big. They're not never been bed size, but try to make something small and get a feel for it. Hand stitching has become a huge thing again, and
Hmm.
slow stitching they call it, and Zen stitching. And even if someone doesn't have a sewing machine, they could, you know, go to the thrift store. There's fabulous fabrics that and clothes at the thrift. Cut them apart, make a little scene for yourself or do an abstract. And, it's kind of one step at a time, I think. And that gets people going. It that piece took quite a while to make, and I did make some adjustments on some changes to it as I went along. And sometimes I think you put things on a wall and look at it, and then step back for a few days or a week or two, and then come back and decide. It. In this case, I decided it needed a bigger trunk, so I put more color and more texture in the trunk. So I just think you have to enjoy the process, and it's always a process.